And I'm very pleased to be joined here today by Malcolm Brodie, former sports editor of the Belfast Telegraph and very much an institution in this building. Malcolm, nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, and good luck in this new venture.
Thanks very much, Malcolm. I just want to take you right the way back. Tell us when you first arrived in Northern Ireland.
Well, I came to Northern Ireland every summer for holidays from Glasgow because my grandparents lived here. One of them was in charge of the buildings of the Cooperative Baking Society in Ravenhill Avenue there. So I came there every summer, but in 1939, just before war broke out, my parents felt that it would be perhaps safer for my brother and I to stay in Northern Ireland. There wasn't the same possibility that we would be bombed here as Clydeside would. So I came here, went to school here, finished my education, and of course that was it. You became almost a naturalised Ulsterman.
And tell me about when your long career with the Telegraph, when did it actually start?
Well, I wanted to be a journalist from I was a youngster. I always had that desire to write, and I eventually broke into journalism through the Portadown News. It was very, very difficult then because newspapers had only 4 pages. There was a rationing during the war. The Telegraph here had 2 editions. Adverts would appear in one edition and then another set in the other ones. And this was making it very difficult to get employment. But a vacancy arose in the Telegraph for a copy taker, that is someone taking copy from reporters. And I felt that if I could get the breakthrough here, I get the foot in the door, that would be it. So I took it, and I joined the Telegraph in 1943, and from then I remained for 50 years, apart from 6 months when I retired. But I was also made an honorary life employee of the Telegraph by the managing director then, the late Bob Crane, and that of course entitles me to all the perks that are going, and I feel very proud of that honour.
And Malcolm, so when did you actually then move off the copy-taking desk and into reporting?
Well, I moved off the copy taking after about 9 months or a year, and actually I changed the system there. I couldn't understand why you had to take shorthand notes and sit down and then transcribe them. I felt that what we should be doing was taking the copy direct onto the typewriters. This was a comparative innovation, but they agreed to it, and as a result of that we did away with the shorthand writing, and it came in actually direct. It used to be in the mornings you would end up with a notebook full of notes, but you had to transcribe them. It was delaying the whole process, so we went over to that now. Innovation, but compared with the days, it's just a minor thing.
And what were your first reporting jobs?
Well, I reported a general news report. I did the courts, the high courts, baffled down there by the legalities, and relied a lot on the experienced colleagues I had there. And then I was switched to the City Hall, and I spent many happy years wandering around the corridors of the City Hall there, established many friendships, and I was also acting deputy parliamentary correspondent to John E. Sayers, who was the one of the editors eventually, and in my opinion a top-class Ulsterman who actually edited newspapers before his time. He was a man of vision, a man of great character, a true Ulsterman, and his ambition when he retired, and he retired through ill health, was to write the history of the Telegraph. He started writing the history of it in a little office in this building here, and of course he died, and it was my ambition to follow in his footsteps and carry on where he left off. So I undertook the job of writing the history of the Telegraph after I retired from the Telegraph. And of course it's now part and parcel of the folklore of this building here.
But of course, Malcolm, you're most famous for the mark you made in the Belfast Telegraph sports department. Take us right back to how that all began.
Well, when I was a political correspondent here, I used to go up to Stormont, and it never gripped me. I felt it was too Mickey Mouse. I felt it was all an act. I didn't feel there was any real authority, or I wasn't getting any satisfaction from it. I said, this was not going to be my forte. So in the Telegraph we had no sports department. Sport was handled by Tom, Dick and Harry, and I put it up to them that I would like to form a sports department, and the management, including R.M. Sayers, who was the editor then, agreed, much to the regret of John E. Sayers, who was anxious to retain me because I think he had visions of me following in his footsteps in the building here. But anyway, I set up the sports department with a man called Billy McClatchy, who wrote under the title Ralph the Rover. And then I brought in a chap called Brian Munn and Jack McGowan, both who have passed on. They were excellent colleagues there, and they helped me form the basis of what was the sports department of the Telegraph today.
And Malcolm, you've covered many World Cups.
Well, I've covered 14 World Cups beginning in 1954. It's the record. There's no other journalist has that number. And I was awarded the Jules Remy Trophy in gold by FIFA in recognition of this. And the trophy itself and the citation is actually on display in the editor's office in the Telegraph for visitors coming in to have a look at it. But it was, I mean, I had an excellent life as a correspondent here in the Telegraph, as a news correspondent before I went on to sport. I mean, I was working for the Associated Press of America, and during the war I had the opportunity of meeting all the main personalities who came here. For instance, Glenn Miller at the old plaza, Irving Berlin at the Hippodrome, Joe Louis up at Balmoral Golf Club when he visited, along with Fred Daly. This was this was an opportunity. The world was my oyster then. I enjoyed every minute of news reporting, but I had this burning desire to get into sport. That's where I ended up.
And of all those World Cups, which ones really stand out in your memory?
Well, of course, naturally you have to look at Northern Ireland, and first of all it was the 1958 when this little country here with 16 players arrived unheralded, unsung. Cinderella nation, but they left it as the belle of the ball. There was 1982, wonderful era, the famous Jerry Armstrong goal against Spain, in which Jerry has lived forever after, because he can talk for Ireland as well as play for it. And Mexico 86, the team was beginning to diminish then. It was beginning to get a bit old, but there was fantastic memories of that, particularly the final match of Pat Jennings after so many caps. And I felt filled with emotion as I watched him walk down the steps into the tunnel after the match with Brazil to the end of what was a fantastic career by a real gentleman, a person whom I class with the same Olympic approach to sport as Mary Peters and Jack Kyle.
And Malcolm, so what year did you actually officially retire from the Belfast Telegraph?
I retired in 1991, in September 1991. But of course, the retirement should be put in quotation marks because I'm still active in journalism. Retirement's not on my radar. I write a column in the Telegraph every week down memory lane. I do obituaries, so many of them, some people think I should be employed by a funeral undertaker. The whole aspect of being employed by the Telegraph filled me with pride. The Telegraph is in my heart, and no matter how long you're away from it, I always refer to it as our paper. Why did we not do this, etc., etc. You know, once you're employed by the Telegraph, you're always employed by the Telegraph. I had a great saying that there were people who were employed by the Telegraph and there were people who were Telegraph people, and it's very true. It really gets into your bones.
Well, if ever there was a Telegraph person, it's certainly you. Malcolm, Brodie, thanks very much for coming in for this chat.
Thank you very much indeed, and good luck.